What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And guys, can you believe it? We are like 24 hours away, just a little over 24 hours away from watching the Giants put on their uniforms and play some damn football. The preseason opener tomorrow night. I can't wait. I'm pumped up. But today, we're not going to be talking about the preseason game. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different. This Giants team has some holes on it still, right? They did a lot of work this offseason, improved in a lot of important positions of need, but there's still a couple spots left over that they might still want to address between now and the start of the regular season. And a couple of those spots would be linebacker and edge. Now, we love Kayvon Thibodeau. We love Azeez Ojulari. We love Bobby Okereke. Even Micah McFadden and Darian Beavers. We believe in all of these guys. But behind these guys, that's where we get a little bit questionable. That's where we could say that the Giants could absolutely afford to add some depth. And right now, there's some pretty damn good free agents available in free agency that could really shore up these positions and provide the Giants with quality depth. So today, we're going to dive into a few of these free agents that the Giants might target in order to bolster their edge and their linebacker positions. But before we do all that, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. But without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? What are your thoughts on some of these free agents, and how pumped are you for the preseason about to begin?
I'm so excited, guys. I mean, the truth is simple. I don't think we're going to see a lot of starters tomorrow. I think that we probably saw the majority of them during joint practices getting a lot of work in. I mean, I know Dan Campbell said that they're not really going to use their starters because of the joint practices. So I'm imagining the Giants are probably going to follow suit with the majority of the guys, right? Like the guys that need kind of action, position battles unfolding, maybe slot cornerback. Maybe we'll see Darnay. Maybe we'll see Cordell Flott competing in the slot there. I think that's possible, but for now, I definitely think that we should expect to see a lot of our reserves, which is fun. Like we're going to see where the position battles really start to unfold. Like I'm excited to see Trey Hawkins. Like he's a player that should be starting tomorrow for like a good half at least, like maybe the whole game. I want to see Trey Hawkins play the entire game because, you know, he's a 6th round pick. He's not going to be like right now he's having a tremendous camp and he's definitely boosting his stock, but in no way am I thinking like he's starting for the Giants in 2023. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen still. And we've only seen it against our offense. We've only seen it against, you know, guys without pads. I need to see him in a real live game setting. And I need to see a lot of sample size before I can actually make a proper analysis. But I will say this, the stock is rising. He's definitely getting a lot of hype. He's working with the ones. Now it's time to put it on the football field and actually see what he's got. So, and another guy, I think we should see Deonte Banks for a quarter. Another starter, but he's a rookie. I think all rookies should play like at least a quarter, especially because they just need that game experience. There's only 3 preseason games now. There used to be 4. I think that, you only have a certain amount of time, and like getting the atmosphere, you have to kind of feel that. Sometimes you got to feel that atmosphere, what it's like to be in an NFL environment. And I think this is a good opportunity for him to kind of test that. So I'd like to see him, like the cornerbacks, like pretty much all of our cornerbacks except Adoree Jackson, I'd like to see on the field. The offensive linemen, I want to see Matt Parrott. I want to see Josh Azudu. I want to see, Tyree Phillips. I would like to see John Michael Schmitz. Now, of course, like there's always risk of injury, but you don't play them for that long. Maybe you only use some of those primary guys for a drive or so, and then you take them out. I don't think we're going to see Daniel Jones. We're sure as hell not going to see Saquon Barkley. We may see a little bit of Jalen Hyatt, though, another rookie there. So maybe some other receivers. Colin Johnson should have a lot of opportunity. Maybe Cole Beasley, who knows? He's kind of older, so they probably know what they have there. We'll see a lot of those kind of back-end receivers, Jamison Crowder maybe, competing for roster spots. So, I'm really excited about this, but, looking at the free agents, the Giants, they're not entirely sure that Micah McFadden and Darren Beavers are going to be like primary starters, like right off the bat in 2023. We keep hearing kind of rumors that they could be looking for a linebacker. And one guy that was linked to the Giants yesterday was Anthony Barr. Now, if you don't know much about Anthony Barr, that's why you're here with us at Fireside Giants today. Anthony Barr is a pretty experienced player, 31 years old. He has a connection with Andre Patterson, our defensive line coach. So that connection there is what we want to be looking at because, we're talking about years of experience together. Like he knows Andre Patterson well. And Andre Patterson, you tell me, he's done a pretty good job getting the most out of guys like Dexter Lawrence and some of our other, guys, Kayvon Thibodeau. Hopefully Azeez Ojulari stays healthy. Now you're giving him Raheem Nunez-Roche. You're giving him a healthy Leonard Williams. You're giving giving him a Sean Robinson, a healthy Ojulari. Things could get really good for the Giants defensive line very quickly. And Barr is kind of interesting. Like he can play that inside linebacker, but he also has a lot of pressure experience in terms of rushing the quarterback. 147 total pressures. He also has 20 career sacks. He's played over 7,100 snaps in his career. The first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of his career came with the Minnesota Vikings. He played last year 707 snaps with the Dallas Cowboys. He's probably like the remaining option on the free agent market that has like a lot of recent experience. Now, is he the linebacker he once was years ago when he was like an elite coverage linebacker? And, he was really, really good at in tackling grades and, just kind of like an overall solid player. No, he's not that guy anymore. We're getting him at the tail end of his career, but you're not asking him to be Bobby Okereke. You're not asking him to be the LB1 of this team and be the Mike linebacker. He is a support linebacker. He's a guy with experience that can step in and give you some value immediately and experience. He knows where to be. He knows, he has the information. He's the pre-snap diagnosis. Like he's just experienced, and like you can't replace that sometimes. I don't know exactly how much he's worth, like how much he's looking for. Clearly, he probably wants a little bit of money probably just for that experience. But if the Giants want to really shore up that defense and get a guy with experience at LB2, he's definitely a good option there because you can always have Beavers and McFadden just compete with him. Like maybe one of those two guys just deserves the starting job. It's not that much financial commitment to Barr, and I think it makes a lot of sense. He picked up 52 tackles last year with 8 pressures, had a 9.6% missed tackle rate, not too bad. Gave up 262 yards in coverage with a touchdown, so the coverage is fine. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about, but Okereke is our primary coverage linebacker as well. He's really, really well-rounded in that facet. But, Anthony, when you're looking at Anthony Barr, if he could be an option for the Giants, I see it. I like this fit, actually. I think we need a veteran presence in there, and I think he kind of fits the bill for exactly what we need.
I think he does fit as well, and I think he fits for more reason than just providing experience to the linebacker core. But I think one trait about Anthony Barr that a lot of people overlook is the fact that he used to be an edge rusher. Coming out of college at UCLA, he was a true pass-rushing edge rusher, an outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. Once he was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, they liked his tools and traits. They moved him to becoming an off-ball linebacker in a 4-3 defense, but this is something that he can do. He can be a pass rusher in a 2-point stance or a 3-point stance, line up on the edge, and get after the quarterback. So not only would he provide some experience and some depth to the Giants' linebacker core, he would also provide those same traits to their pass rushing department. Get a little bit of relief for Kayvon Thibodeau, for Azeez Ojulari. So Anthony Barr makes sense to me for multiple reasons because of his ability to rush the passer. Now, when you look back on his career with Minnesota, I know this past season he was with Dallas, wasn't anything to write home about, but this is a guy who's consistently been at least a decent linebacker. And what the Giants haven't had for years is a decent linebacker. So it does make sense that they would want to add a guy right here with veteran experience and the ability to stop the run, play a little bit in coverage, and also get a little bit after the quarterback. You all know Wink Martindale loves to blitz. Blitzes at the highest rate of any defensive coordinator in the NFL. So getting an off-ball linebacker that can get after the quarterback, that's what Wink Martindale is always looking for. So Anthony Barr, again, fits the mold for the Giants specifically because of multiple things. He can play against the run. He's got that veteran experience, and he can rush the passer. It's a big trait here that I think a lot of people are overlooking for Anthony Barr. But that being said, the Giants might want to opt for a more traditional pass rusher to bolster their depth on the edge, right? They might want to go with Anthony Barr because he's versatile, can play a couple positions, or maybe they want to go ahead and make a little bit of a splash here with one of these edge rushers that's still sitting on the market. Now, there's 3 edge rushers that I have in mind, Alex, but the first one is Jadeveon Clowney. Now, everyone knows Jadeveon Clowney, first overall pick of 2014, was a second-team All-Pro, actually, 2016. I didn't even realize that till this morning. But he was a 3-time Pro Bowler. But this is a guy who's never cracked double-digit sacks. 9.5 is a career high for him. He's reached 9 3 times in his career, but never got to that illustrious double-digit sack total. But still, Jadeveon Clowney, a great run-defending, edge-setting edge rusher. That's something that you love about him. And also, he can get after the quarterback. Gets a lot of pressures. Doesn't necessarily get sacks, but gets a lot of pressures. Now, at 30 years old, a veteran player coming off of a 2-sack season with the Cleveland Browns, how much is left in the tank for Jadeveon Clowney? I'm not so sure. But coming off of this bad year that he just had, maybe you can get him for a pretty low price, and I do think that he would be the perfect player to have playing behind Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari in the Giants defense. Do I want him starting? Do I want him playing a surplus of snaps? Absolutely not. But as a depth piece and as a rotational pass rusher towards the back end of his career, perfect. I think that is the exact role that fits what Jadeveon Clowney's skill set can still provide, and that's exactly what the Giants are looking for. So, Alex, how are you feeling about the Giants maybe going after Jadeveon Clowney? I know that they don't have any interest right now, but he is a name that's out there. So if they decide to start looking at free agent edge rushers, I think that Jadeveon Clowney would be the top name to take a look at.
I mean, look, like you said, last year he actually had a decent campaign. I mean, he had 29 pressures, 3 sacks, 7.4% missed tackle rate, played nearly 500 snaps. When you're looking at a player tail end of his career, he's 30 years old. And you know what? He's actually still not that old. Like 30 years old's not that bad. He could still put together some pretty productive years. And look, he played for Cleveland last year, only 500 snaps. I think he missed a little bit of time with injury. But it really depends. Like, is he looking to be a starter or is he looking to, be fine as a backup? Because if he's looking to be a starter, I don't know if any team's going to kind of bite on that. But if he's looking to be a backup at a pretty reasonable cost, I don't see the downside here. Like, I really think that there is value. We've talked about Jadeveon Clowney like literally every single offseason. We're like, this guy could provide value. And for what it's worth, guys, he signed a 1-year, $10 million deal last year, only played 500 snaps. So maybe he's getting older. Maybe you're looking at a guy that would sign like a 1-year, $5 million deal. The question is, do the Giants even have enough money to pay him? That's kind of where you start to ask the questions. Right now, they have $5.1 million in cap space. And traditionally speaking, you don't want to go into the season with no money. You want to have a little bit of cash to utilize. So if we're being honest, I don't see it happening because of the financial implications. The Giants don't have the money for it, and I don't think they want to strap themselves right at zero just in case another injury happens. Like, they have some money to spend. I think they're going to stick with, they have O'Shane and Zimenez. I think they're probably going to stick with those guys. Maybe they bring in a guy like someone from another team that gets cut or something like that, a cheap like minimum dude to replace a roster spot on our team. But like at the end of the day, I think it's a little bit too expensive for us right now. However, if the Giants were to extend someone or clear up a little bit of money somehow, some way, maybe it makes sense. I think maybe you could sit here and make a good argument that Jadeveon Clowney would be a great option to have behind Ojulari, just a rotational piece. Give him a couple plays off. Clowney comes in, you don't skip a beat. I think that's something that certainly would have value, but they got to clear up a little bit more money because I just don't know how they fit that under the salary cap right now without clearing, without extending someone or restructuring a contract, which I don't think they really want to do at this point in time.
I don't think they want to do that either, but I will say keep in mind that we do have preseason cuts coming up, so they're going to naturally free up a bunch of cap space because they're going from 90 men to 53 men. So there will be a little bit of extra space, but you do make a good point. Clowney, a real established player, was kind of a star at one point. I don't know if he's going to be able to be had at the price that the Giants can afford. But there is another player that I want to bring up that I'm really excited to talk about. This is a player that they could definitely sign for cheap at 34 years old. Bring back Jason Pierre-Paul. What a story that would be, Alex. Come on, think about it. Jason Pierre-Paul starts off his career as one of the best Giants pass rushers ever. Of course, we know about his unfortunate incident. Still played with the Giants for a little bit after that, but then goes to Tampa and was most recently with Baltimore. Not with Baltimore while Wink Martindale was there. However, Wink Martindale can definitely ask around with some of his Baltimore buddies and say, how much does Jason Pierre-Paul still have left in the tank? So I like that connection there. And also, JPP, 34, playing the twilight years of his career back home with the New York Giants, that would just be one of the most exciting stories ever. I would love to see that happen. Now, how much does he have left in the tank really is the big question with JPP. I don't know if he's still planning on playing football. We haven't heard anything about him getting any visits or any interest from other teams. So I don't know if JPP is still trying to play. But if he is, I would love to see it happen. He was still productive last year. He had 3 sacks and 13 starts, which is honestly a normal number for a rotational pass rusher here. So if he could just play behind our guys and also provide some of that old school New York Giants mentality to this defense, I think that would be perfect. So Alex, do you want to see the JPP reunion happen?
Guys, I mean, JPP, I love JPP. And look, if he didn't blow his fingers off, he could have been one of the best he maybe still be considered one of the best pass rushers the Giants have ever had. He had a 17-sack season earlier in his career. But with all of his fingers, who knows? He could have been one of the best ever. Look, when it comes to JPP, we just discussed Jadeveon Clowney is 30 years old. JPP is almost 35. So there's a pretty big difference there in age, which is a good thing for one reason. He's cheap as hell. Like he signed a 1 year, $1.35 million deal last season. He's not going to make any money. He's like a veteran minimum guy at this point in time if he really wants to keep playing. So that's one where like financially it makes sense. The question is like, I don't really think he's gonna produce much at this point in his career. You know what I mean? He had like you said, 3-4 sacks last year, 22 pressures. He had an 18.5% missed tackle rate. Like he's not very good against the run anymore. His tackling is just so inconsistent. His run defense has fallen off a cliff as he's gotten older. I just like, look, if there's another option, you could probably get similar results. Over 555 total snaps last year. I feel like you could get better results for a similar price elsewhere. Like even O'Shane Ximines will probably do better than that, to be honest. I think if you're bringing back JPP, it's because of nostalgia rather than actual production. So I think that I'd probably be out on the JPP reunion just because I don't think he's that good anymore. I think that we can get better out of younger with more upside. But if we were to bring him back, I mean, I love JPP. It would be awesome to see him in the big blue colors again. But I just don't see how it makes any sense for us at this point.
I mean, okay, fair. You make a good point, but I just want to see the storybook ending to JPP's career. I'm all for this. I'm like so excited about the idea of this that I want to go ahead and call whoever I can in the Giants front office, just be like, please make it happen. I got to see number 90 back with the Giants. Is 90 taken right now? It probably is. I don't know. I don't remember who's playing 90, but you can't bring back JPP unless he's able to wear the number 90. That's how I see it. He's got to have 90 on. But anyway, I would love to see JPP return. Jason Pierre-Paul was one of my favorite players on the New York Giants back in 2011-12. I mean, that season that you just referenced, dominant season, helped the Giants reach the playoffs and helped them reach the Super Bowl and win it. So I would love to see our Super Bowl champion JPP return. But you're right, he is a veteran player. How much does he have left in the tank is the big question mark. And the Giants could probably use the waiver wire to find someone else at a lower price point. So you're probably also not going to like this third option that I'm going to throw out there. Another veteran guy where the big question is, how much does he have left in the tank? That would be Robert Quinn, most recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. But here's the thing with Robert Quinn that I think is just so strange. So in 2019, 11 and a half sacks, then 2 sacks in 2020, then 2021, 18 and a half sacks. And then in 2022, I don't think he even got a sack. He barely even played. 1 sack, just 1 sack in 13 games. So I don't know what's going on with Robert Quinn at this stage in his career. But if you're looking at the pattern here, 2019, good year, 2020, bad year, 21, good year, 22, bad year, he's due for a good year. So maybe you get him at a low price point because he just had a stinker of a 2022 season, and maybe he returns to form and does provide you with some good rotational pass rushing ability. He's a veteran, good experience. Maybe he can go out there with whatever he has left in the tank and have a bounce back year like he had in 2020, or 2021 rather. So I know you're probably going to be a little lukewarm on the idea of Robert Quinn, Alex, but I do think that with him, with Pierre-Paul, there is something to be said about bringing in these veterans who do have maybe just a little bit of juice left to squeeze out of them and seeing what they can provide with veteran experience and rotational pass rushing.
Yeah, I mean, look, Robert Quinn, inconsistent, as you mentioned, tackling not so good, had an 18.8% missed tackle rate last year, 23.1% missed tackle rate in 2021. I mean, he's just not a good tackler. He misses a lot of tackles. But his pass rush, like, that's always been a strong suit for him, right? Like you said last year, like 1 sack, he had 24 pressures, then he had 18 sacks the year before. Look, you take a gamble on a player like this simply because the upside, like, and he's proven as a pass rusher, and he actually fits nicely with the Ojulari mold. And like Ojulari, we don't really know if he's going to be a good run stopper, but we know one thing: he's a purebred pass rusher. Like, he's going to come in and make an impact rushing the passer immediately. That's what Robert Quinn is. He's not a good tackler, he's not a good run defender, but he's a damn really freaking good pass rusher. And that's really what you're banking on. Like, he's basically like an older version of Ojulari at this point in time. Some inconsistencies, some injuries, really good pass rusher when he's on the football field. Can't really stop the run that well. Has a little bit left to be desired. Ojulari obviously has more upside, I'd say, but Quinn was a good player back in his day. In terms of just upside right now, Ojulari obviously is younger, so he's a lot more of that. But Quinn's been like an elite player at times in his career. Like he went through a stretch. He had 19 sacks in 2013. Like he's been phenomenal at times. 2021, 2 years removed, 18 sacks. That's ridiculous. 47 total pressures. Like he literally steps on the football field and is like an automatic sack a game. So if you are the Giants and you're looking for a cheap player like that, why not? I mean, they traded him, right? I don't even know if they traded him. Maybe they just cut him outright. But played for the Eagles last year, only made like $684K, and I think Chicago was still paying him out. And then now he's a free agent. Eagles just opted out of that deal, and now he's on the open market at 33 years old. So I'll tell you what, if we could go out and grab him for a minimum deal, I'm actually on the Robert Quinn train because like he is a good Ojulari supplement. You're not putting him in like he's a third down pass rusher. He's like your rotational third down pass rusher, and you have Ojulari play first and second down. You throw Robert Quinn on for third down. That's all he does: get after the quarterback, make plays happen in the backfield there. So maybe that's a good option there. The Giants invested heavily in stopping the run with Nunez-Roche and A'Shawn Robinson. I think it's now maybe time to reinforce the pass rush a little bit with a guy that's just purely elite in that one category. So maybe it does make sense. But again, don't really know the cost. If it's a minimum deal, I'd be open to the idea.
I would have to assume it's going to be a minimum deal for him at this point in his career. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's coming off of a 2-sack season. I don't know, though. He's got a pretty impressive resume, so maybe he asks for a little bit over minimum. But I agree with you. I think that if any of these three guys you can get on a minimum deal, you take them. Clowney's probably going to be the most expensive of the group. But again, with Pierre-Paul, would be a great storybook ending to his career. Think you could get him on a minimum deal. And like you said with Robert Quinn, this is a guy that could supplement really well for Azeez Ojulari when he's off the field. He could also make a really solid impact as a rotational rusher. So I think that edge 3 really is one of the Giants' biggest positions of need right now. Like you take a look at their team, where they're thin, and yeah, edge is definitely one of the spots where they're thin. Like we love the 2 starters that they have at that spot. And listen, I really like Jihad Ward, but I don't trust him to be a solid rotational rusher. I like O'Shane Ximines, but I don't trust him to be a plus rotational pass rusher. So I do think that this is a position the Giants are going to be keeping an eye on, seeing if they can add some depth here. I know that there's some lesser known players that they're taking a look at and developing during training camp. But again, as you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Alex, I could also see the Giants taking a look at the waiver wire towards the end of the preseason, right before the regular season, and maybe they can find some pass rushing talent there. But for now, here's some free agents that we thought might be a good fit for the Giants. Let us know your thoughts on them down below in the comment section. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify if you're listening there. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. But without further ado, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.